What's up, you guys, and welcome to this episode of Krystal Clear. I am super excited for our guest today. We have two guests, the creators, founders, masterminds, and inspiration behind AwareHouse SRQ, Steve and Oz Comer. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Krystel. It's a pleasure. We're very
Thank you
excited
for
to be
having
here.
us. It's fun.
I'm just so excited to dive deep into this conversation. It could probably be my longest podcast yet, but I will spare you today. Maybe we'll have to do part 2. But just tell us a little bit about what is a warehouse. And I love that when I say it, they're like, a warehouse. What do you where's the where? I'm no aware, like awareness.
Yes.
House.
That is a common conversation we have with people.
Sure. I'm sure it is. So I've been and experienced your modalities. My husband's been and experienced your modalities.
Yeah.
It's a magical place. Not something this podcast is going to do any justice, but I would love to hear from you. Like, what is your individual backgrounds? How did this come to fruition for you? And, how has it kind of escalated and shifted and changed and manifested for you over the years?
Yeah, it's evolved dynamically over the years, as you can imagine. I'll start with this idea of awareness because I think that's fundamental to how this kind of became what it is today. I've been obsessed with this idea of how do you become aware of what you're not aware of? Because I understood something that awareness is the foundation of any change in your life. If you're not aware of a pattern, if you're not aware of a limitation, uh, a thought process, a language that you're using that's limiting, you can't change it. So that's the foundation. That's where it has to begin. And in our world, we're so mental, we're so in our heads, we're so analytical. The analytical mind is actually the inversion of awareness. So the more analytical you are, the less awareness you have of what's actually going on. But we have a culture that continues to reinforce the analysis. I'm sure you've heard the term paralysis by analysis is a thing. We get overwhelmed. We have too much thought process, and our world becomes smaller and smaller the more analysis we get into. So that was really at the foundation of what the AwareHouse is. We want to invite people to open their minds and hearts to increase their awareness so they can get more intentional about what they will actually want their life to look like. That was really at the heart of it. And also we wanted to do it with integrity. That was a core foundation because in our own adventures and journeys, we would attend to this retreat, belong to this, self-development group, club, organization. And we always ran into the same thing. There would be this, something was off, but you couldn't quite figure it out, So as those things were exposed, we learned from those things. And I think between the two of us, we kind of said, what would it be like to really create something that does have that integrity, that is a space for integration, that people really, when they walk in the doors, feel like they belong. That's just the felt sense once they enter the space. So that was really at the heart of why we created what we created.
And you can really feel that when you walk in the door. It's, like yourselves, all of the self-help books and the retreats and the self-development, the nervous system regulation techniques. And it's really hard to find a space, even with a great network of people, that doesn't have some level of ego attached. And I will say that, like, if that is something about both of you, getting to know you individually and being in your space, it is very intentional and it has a ton of integrity, and it allows you that safe space to break down those barriers, to allow your mind to just not go there. It's not a place of judgment. It's not, who cares why you walked in the door? You walked in, like, what can we do for you? How can we help you? And I think it really exudes that energy. I'm a very empathetic feeler kind of girl. So, I mean, you feel it, and you can feel it when you walk into a place and you're like, I don't know about this. I'm out. And I'm not afraid to do that at this point in time. So thank you for creating that space. And I love that explanation, because I think that, like you said, the being conscious of awareness. I mean, whether it's like you said, your thought patterns and things going on in your body, unless we have that, we're not able to get to the root of anything. And, it's It's funny, and Lil Birdie told me the word biohacking is a little bit of a trigger, and I think it should be too, because guess what? We shouldn't be hacking into consciousness. We should just
No.
be there,
Right,
right?
right.
It's like it's almost like I look at it this way as like hacking the matrix
Yeah,
of like the outside
Mhm.
sources that pull you into all of it. Like, yeah, you
right.
could be a part of like this whole systematic, like go, 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 success driven mentality, but like, what is success? Like my husband and I both have been in this place where it's like, oh, you feel like on paper, everything looks like you should be the happiest, most fulfilled people ever. But
Right.
it's like, why am I feeling so empty and neglected inside?
Mhm.
It's because I
Yeah,
haven't gotten to that space of awareness. So when you get there, then you're like, all that other stuff doesn't,
right.
and it
Very
makes
well
it
said.
more free flowing and just you get back to like having that regulated nervous system,
Mhm.
having the peace of mind, having that a place where you can go and things that you can do on a regular basis that are just part of your inner knowing and your being
Yeah,
rather than externally seeking things from the outside all the time is a
Mhm.
yeah.
huge, huge proponent in true healing,
Very
not like
well.
performance healing, because
Very
there's
well
a lot of
said.
that going on too. But that's a whole other conversation.
Absolutely. The biohacking, I want to honor the space because it did kind of give us the power, put the power back
Right.
in our hands to explore and be a little more scientific and look
Right.
at what's happening at a cellular level. So I want to honor that, but yes, we don't want to get stuck there either. So
Right.
it's like biohacking and beyond,
Yeah.
because a lot of the technologies, the red light, the hyperbaric, I mean, we have those available for
Yeah.
people, but for us, it's only to help them have the energy, decrease inflammation so that they can actually
Right.
expand, feel safe enough to have the awareness that's going
Right.
to shift their perception and lead to a
Right.
bigger
So
life.
it's like biotransformational.
Yeah.
It's just one of those trendy generic terms we throw on things like
Yeah.
slay. My
Yeah.
nanny says slay all the time. I'm, what?
What does
It's a
that mean?
Christmas. But anyway. So awesome. So how did like when did it come about? Like when did you guys first open? What were your first modalities? Like when did this kind of all the dream really start to come to life for you?
Yeah, it goes back way, way, way before. Um, it started in 2009, maybe 2008, 2009 when we first met.
Mhm.
But I was running my own course. I was in my
Hmm.
own journey, and I was. My vision was I find myself like working with the clients every day and saying the same things over and over,
Hmm.
over and over, and then I realized, so there has to be a more efficient way of giving this information. And then we created a school,
Hmm.
and it went really fantastic. Actually, that's one of our favorite projects. And it also opened up a space that like people would understand what we're trying to create in a very deeper sense. And our practice went
Hmm.
very deeper than that. And it was great. It was fantastic when it was time to move back to States.
Hmm.
Because in Europe, the line of work that we're doing is received way better
Hmm.
than, and I don't want to make comparison, but that's a real life
Hmm.
observation and my professional experience. So how can we bring that consciousness here? Because we decided to come and live in this beautiful town,
Hmm.
beautiful space, which is pristine and beautiful. But how can we bring this information over here? That was the challenge, right? That we faced in the first years. But like short answer to your question, it started way before.
Okay.
And Warehouse was created right after COVID
Mm.
because I couldn't stay in the house and I couldn't look at the computer anymore.
Man, you
Like
sister.
all,
I was breaking all the
all
rules.
our,
Thank goodness we were in
yeah.
Florida during that time. I would
Yeah,
have
I'm
that was
like,
a
probably
true
been
blessing.
like
That was
yes.
a
I'm
true
like, I
blessing.
need to get out. I need to get out and I need to be, even if it's just doing our online work, I need to be somewhere else.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, that was the beginning of it. This is how it's created. But normally we work with human mind and human heart.
Right.
And Steve is always has been searching what can serve in that process.
Mhm.
And so this technology started to pop up and evolving in our
Right.
lives. And we started deep diving in like how what can support us in that realm. And then do you wanna take over and
Yeah, so my background is very nervous system centric and
Mhm.
brain optimization. So I've done courses with Daniel Amen. I've been through his trainings, and this is the crossover where
Mhm.
Matt and I actually
Yeah.
met.
Oh,
So I would take clients, would get brain scans, would look at
Yep.
the SPEC
We've
scans, would
got
look at what
those.
areas are overactive, underactive, etc. And regardless of what presented on the scan, the therapies would be very similar. You would do neurofeedback, you do
Mhm.
hyperbaric oxygen, and then we've expanded to include red light, PEMF,
Mhm.
etc. So that was really where it started, was with this specific type of neurofeedback. And I was actually at the Amen Clinic in Atlanta asking them, because I was so interested in neurofeedback, we're thinking about a physical space
Mhm.
in Sarasota. What would you guys recommend? They didn't hesitate. They said, you need to look at IASIS microcurrent neurofeedback. We're seeing amazing things, faster results. People are
Mhm.
responding like in ways that we haven't seen people respond before. There's less overstimulation. Check it out. It's like the new kid on the block kind of thing.
Right.
So I didn't check it out. I started doing the research, then COVID hit, so we didn't go anywhere or do anything.
Right.
And once COVID started to slow down and things opened up again, we talked about opening up the physical space so that we could connect again with our clients,
Mhm.
individually in person.
yes.
And when that happened, I said, I want to do this neurofeedback. That's how it all started. And things continuously, genuinely expanded from that place.
Yeah. And I love the like synchronicity here because this podcast kind of started because
Yeah.
5 years ago, Matt and I decided to get brain scans,
Yep.
and
Mm,
I found from a Dr. Amen spec scan that I had complex PTSD, and I'm like,
mm,
"What are you talking about? Like, I'm
Right.
always happy, I'm super active. I don't have PTSD." But when I sat in the stillness of my shit during
Mhm.
COVID,
mm,
Yep.
I started to recognize, what are my patterns? How am I? Am I really regulated? Am I
Yeah.
really, nurturing my body when I'm going and exercising 3 times a day? Or am I
Mhm.
really running from like the tiger that's in the back of my mind chasing me from my childhood?
Yeah.
So it's really, and obviously I'm one of those people that just really dive deep into all the things to
Yeah.
understand like the science of human health and behavior. And I've always been intrigued
mhm,
since I was a very young girl about this. So I love the synchronicity there. And I was able to, by diving deep into these modalities, like you're talking about, the neurofeedback, and they actually prescribed Matt and I both the
Mhm.
hyperbaric chamber and
Right.
all of these things. Like when you're leaving somewhere and you're getting prescription for something that reoxygenates your brain
Yeah.
rather than a handful of medications, it's so rewarding on a different level. And I really feel like that was the purpose of the pandemic, is to shift us all up, shake
Mhm.
things up to help us reevaluate our lives.
Yeah.
If we have to find something, like one of those people that try to find the growth opportunity and all things. I don't want to necessarily say the positive because sometimes it doesn't feel so positive, but the
Mhm.
growth
Sure.
in all opportunities. It's like I feel like there are so many more people that really were able to take more of a intentional version of like control, for
Mhm.
lack of a better word, of their health and their life and how they want to approach this new chapter when the world opens back up.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to put out there? Like, it's my responsibility. Like, I can go gung ho and do all the things, but like, how do I want to? And meanwhile, we had 3 adolescent children and a newborn at the time. So it's like we needed to shift and change some things. And it
Right.
was not easy at
Right.
all.
mhm,
And it's still constant work.
Right.
Um, so I love that because by doing all of these different modalities and really get in touch with my awareness
Mhm.
and what was going on inside, I did the scan a year and a half later and I had no longer had the diamond
mm,
pattern PTSD.
Yeah.
And it's like, this really works.
Right.
yes.
And so when I got those results, it was like, I have to talk about this. I have to share this. Like that's what this podcast, how it came to fruition.
Yeah.
And it's evolved from there. And sometimes it's an empowerment, sometimes so every episode is completely different, but all really based on the intention of, hey, you're in control and you're responsible. I like is a better word than control.
Yeah.
You're responsible for your healing, for how you show up in the world, how you show up for yourself,
Yeah.
and that I feel like is a big deal because what we're doing by ourselves for ourselves in a world now where everything's put out there so much.
Yeah.
It's we can look a certain way online, but how are you really showing up for yourself? And so you guys have created a space where people can go and show up for themselves. We've been traveling a ton and had a lot going on this summer, and I got to go and just treat myself to amazing modalities
Yeah.
last week, and it was the best reset I could have asked for. Like, I 100% feel so much more regulated and grounded and just more patient and able to, like, take on. Now we have back to school coming up, and that's a big
Mhm.
deal
Oh, yeah.
because, 5 years ago, Krystel would have just pushed through and
Mhm,
had a coffee and kept going. No, nope, nope, none of that anymore. So thank you
mhm,
for creating that space and,
Absolutely.
really a place where people can honor their energy. And
mhm,
you've brought in more practitioners. And so
mhm,
tell us a little about the modalities you offer. It started with neurofeedback and hyperbaric,
Yeah.
and you could even kind of get into what that is. We mentioned hyperbaric, and I'm sure you can explain it a little bit better than I can.
Mhm.
But it has been life changing and transformational. My husband actually ended up buying his own,
mhm,
but
Uh-huh.
that's how he met you guys. Started
mhm,
out there, and it's been huge. And it's like such a great recovery tool. And he's like at the point he's like, I can really tell when I take a break,
Yeah.
and I can tell when I need it again.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is what happens. You start to tune into your own body, you listen. Once you start noticing the difference, then with hyperbaric specifically, we call it front loading. You want to get the 30, 40 sessions in
right,
initially, and then by that point, you really understand how it's benefiting your
right.
physiology. So then you can go into more of a maintenance,
Hmm.
kind of once a week, once every other week, or whatever that looks like for that person. But it's a phenomenal therapy. When we have more oxygen in the system, everything works better.
Right.
It's one of the primary ways we can decrease inflammation as well. And we all know that inflammation is one of the primary drivers of all disease.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that's important, we don't tend to focus on the modalities so much, like go to the
Hmm.
website, check it out, because it can be a
Right.
little overwhelming
Yeah.
Mhm,
because there has so much available at this point.
Right.
But you touched on something I kind of want to jump back at because you're talking about how it's not easy and how
Hmm.
growth needs to be the
Hmm.
intention. Um, it was Carl Jung, and he said,
Yeah.
people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul.
Hmm.
So really, that's what the AwareHouse is about: is helping people have a safe enough space where they can start that adventure, that journey. All the other things are just to support them in that process. So neurofeedback, hyperbaric, different types of red light, infrared light,
Hmm.
PEMF, both low energy and high energy, and go into the science and the
Hmm.
mechanisms of action of all those things. We have a ozone sauna. It's called the Hocket.
It's amazing.
You should
Fantastic.
try that
Oh,
one,
it's
yeah.
my new fave.
Yeah, it's
I think I booked
fantastic.
like 4 more sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. The flow presso. So
Mhm.
we're looking at the body, how it all connects, right?
Mhm,
Both mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so at a physical level, once things are flowing, we're structuring and helping the body understand how fluid we are, how water is important, how light is important.
Mhm.
Then we can start to really have the energy, the safety to address the harder stuff, the
Right.
emotional sticking points, the
Mhm.
abandonment,
Mhm.
we're all addicts to something, whether it's
Mhm.
TV or
Mhm.
guilt or
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Or
S-
health modalities themselves, like I've
Also
gone on that
true.
mhm,
route.
Yeah.
mhm,
No, I
mhm.
think at some level it's just part of the
Yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like we get addicted to trying to fix or
Yeah.
trying to solve or trying to
Mhm.
rescue or heal. Maybe it's not ourselves, maybe it's somebody else.
Yep.
But to just take a step back and look at those patterns. I say often, if you're not in the process, you're in the pattern.
Right.
So let's take a look at it. What are the
Mhm.
patterns, and can we objectively look at that so that we're not identifying with it?
And that's the hardest thing,
Oh,
to be
yeah.
able to look at yourself from a very objective place, because we tend to just jump on the judgment,
Mhm.
and that changes the whole energy. So you don't see the truth when you're in the judgment. So this is the skill set that we align within ourselves, within our little organization, so that everybody who walks in is just entering to that energy of being non-judgmental and being more objective and see what is over there and
Yeah,
then just work with it.
I'll add to that because the judgment is such a huge piece.
So big.
We've been in Italy doing 7-day workshops where all we do is clear
Yeah.
judgments.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. Like people's
Mhm.
lives were forever changed.
Yeah.
But the thing people don't understand about judgment is that you can feel judgment, right? if I'm judging Oz for whatever reason, she can feel that.
Mhm.
And that is a threat psychologically to her. It's not
Mhm.
a physical threat, but the brain processes it the same way.
Yep.
And if you're perceiving there's a threat, now you're going into your fight or flight sympathetic nervous system,
Mhm.
and the system starts to close down, and you're less connected to the evolved, intelligent part of your brain. So, helping people understand those types of dynamics and to give them tools so they can regulate, because you can't regulate unless you recognize you're not regulated.
Right.
Very
Exactly.
fundamental principle, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to have tools to be able to increase regulation, because once that stress chemistry comes down, then you see the world without the distortion.
Mhm.
Then you can make intelligent responses rather than reacting from some past experience.
Mm. It's really interesting that, again, the synchronicity of that coming up because realizing, when I get this PTSD diagnosis, it's like,
Hmm.
but yeah, I grew up with my grandparents. I had some crazy stuff going on in childhood.
Yeah.
However, the way I learned to cope with that was through discipline and exercise and
Right.
being super judgmental of myself and having
Mhm.
these very rigid boundaries on how I should look and what I should eat and how often I
Yeah.
should exercise and all of these things that I think made me feel safe, pseudo safe in a
Yeah.
way that were actually keeping me in those patterns. So,
Yeah.
like, when I really started to unravel from the inside out, it was like, you know, realizing everyone's stuff from childhood was their own stuff.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It was me holding on to my own patterns of how at one point it may have helped me
Correct.
be safe and disciplined and stay out of
It
trouble in
certainly
high
did.
school and college.
Hmm.
But you can let go of that now.
Right.
And so having the courage and the like emotional availability to let go of that, I mean,
Mhm.
it's something will still pop up daily. Like
Mhm.
it's a
Correct.
constant. It's never like I don't think there's any certain thing as like healed. It's all about the awareness, right? It's being aware of even we've had a lot of recent travels. So there was one day on our trip in the UK where I slept in until like 11,
Hmm.
right? I didn't get up and I didn't do my morning walk by myself and I didn't
Right.
do my
Mhm.
my morning like ritual. I was like, yeah, but however you are like 5 hours difference and show yourself some grace and compassion and
Mhm.
let it go.
Yeah.
You have all day long to walk around. You have all day, but it's like I got immediately switched to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, and it's like, no, it's fine. It's all fine. And so it was a really actually great conversation on a car ride
Yeah.
between my husband and I to be like, wow, I really allowed old stuff to take over there. Like I really allowed the resistance of just what was happening to interfere with just being regulated and enjoying myself.
Yeah.
So it's really about understanding where your patterns lie and how to, in a lot of things, like, and you all know this more than anyone, like you can have all these different modalities, but honestly, breathing,
Hmm.
sunshine,
Hmm.
grounding, there are
Yep.
so many things to us that are free that we can do on a
Yes.
daily basis, like taking a deep breath and putting our feet on the ground, connecting to the earth somehow, nurturing our body with good choices and food and it's
Yeah.
just we take that stuff for granted sometimes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we kind of skim over it, like we said in the very beginning, living in such a like, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, let's just take a break. I learn a lot from my 5-year-old. Let's just
Mm.
stop and look at the caterpillar.
Yeah.
Let's take a little, I think having a son 10 years, I mean, they were 13, 11, and 10 years apart from our older ones
Hmm.
has given us the biggest opportunity to reparent ourselves and rewire ourselves,
Hmm.
just taking it slow.
Yeah. Yeah, you've hit on some very important parts. I think becoming parents can be one of the faster ways to enlightenment, if we can call it that,
That's a great way
right?
to put it.
And it does continuously give you the
Mhm.
invitation to practice compassion towards the self.
Yep.
Um, at the core of my background in neurobiology, so interpersonal psychoneurobiology, it's a lot of words, but
Mhm.
that's my education. And at the foundation of that is integration.
Mhm.
And what does that actually mean? Well, the external manifestation of a brain and nervous system that has a high level of integration is compassion and
Mhm.
kindness.
Mhm.
So, by prioritizing those, setting that intention, you're actually increasing a level of integration in your system.
Mhm.
Or if somebody has done a lot of work or is very integrated, you will just see that naturally
Mhm.
as the expression of how they connect with other people and
Mhm.
themselves. So, to practice that with oneself, as you're mentioning, it's such a key foundational. We have to be gentle with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people often, it's not your fault you're messed up. It's your fault if you stay messed up,
Exactly.
whatever messed up means, right?
Right.
But we can find a way out.
Mm-hmm.
It has to come from a place of more intentionality, more consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, by default, we're just stuck in the same patterns.
When it takes the courage to see the ugly parts, if we want to call it ugly, but we should really look at it as observing the parts that need nurturing.
It,
If we want
yeah,
to shift that, like the ugly parts or the shadow side, we can say that that's thrown out there a lot, but
right.
really it's observing those parts of us that need nurturing, that maybe we didn't receive it, or maybe it was shifted a little bit throughout life or whatever. But that's the way now, I regulate and talk to myself of,
Yeah,
what is this bringing up for me? What is my opportunity in this? What does this go back to? Because usually it has nothing to do with the situation at hand. It's like,
correct.
what's really manifesting here that I've either ignored intentionally or unintentionally, or I'm just afraid to dig up,
Yeah,
because sometimes that's a factor too. And knowing that we all have that. And I think that, again, another one of the intentions of this is just to put all of this information out there to make people know they're not alone. Because we've
mhm,
all had those moments where we're scared to see ourselves, or face things in life that lead us to those big openings of awareness. And there's so much freedom in that once you've tasted it and you've felt it, and
yeah,
you almost seek more of it. And I think that that's probably a lot of what draws people into a warehouse, is
yeah,
knowing that, like, hey, there's a place here where I can continue this growth and I can continue this clarification and awareness and awakening. And
yeah,
I really feel like there's a big shift going on. And I know there's a lot going on in the world, but I don't really watch mainstream news, so I
yeah,
kind of stay in my little bubble. But I do feel a like intentional, cosmic, universal, conscious shift going on, where people are really wanting to get to the root of,
yeah,
like, who am I? And what does that really mean?
yeah,
And what does it feel like? And what do I want that to look like? And, this generation of breaking cycles, whether it be like physical things or emotional patterns, or, so, and you guys, like, you offer retreats and things like that as
Mhm.
well. And all kinds of stuff going on there.
We do. We are starting to do immersions now, which is
Mm-hmm.
going to be 3.5 days, almost 4 days.
So,
And I mean, we're really devoted to deep intentional work,
right.
not just on the surface work.
Right.
And it requires a lot of intention and devotion, and
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of energy
Mm-hmm.
and also dedication. So, for that to be able to bring people into that space, we need to spend a little bit of time with them.
Right.
So, those immersions, our intention is just to create that and like spend as much as time as possible and look at things from many different perspectives, many different aspects. It's not just from the physical, but like my background is energy medicine. I listen to frequencies. I listen to people. I listen to the voices, but I tune in into the heart's frequency because
Mm-hmm.
your energy never lies. Sometimes our mind is just playing games with us. So
Mm-hmm.
just to be able to hear both,
Right.
and to be able to bring those people to that space, first they need to feel safe and they need belonging. And this is what we're just starting to implement
Mm-hmm.
at a warehouse, because we have been doing retreats for many years,
Right.
but we take people to some beautiful
Mm-hmm.
spaces in beautiful nature in different parts of the world. But like it needs to be more practical and it needs to be more into daily life, and
Mm-hmm.
we need to prioritize that. So
Right.
that's what we're trying to implement now.
Love
And
that.
I think it's gonna be pretty amazing.
I love that, because
yeah,
it's equipping people with the tools
correct.
to have these
That's
shifts
the
in mindset. And
intention.
that's just it. It's
Yes.
because, we, as much as we would love to, like, life isn't always a retreat. Like, I've had like retreat
Yeah,
hangovers where you go, like, for the past 3 years, I've taken
Yes.
myself on like a solo
Hmm.
Miraval retreat and done all the things. Then I come
Yeah.
back
mhm,
and I'm like, okay, I still have 4 kids and I have like life and I
Yeah.
have, and it's
good
it's
point.
shocking. Talk
Yeah,
about
Hmm.
something that will
Hmm.
like shock you. So it's finding those tools and ways to just do it consistently on a daily basis. Like, what are the daily
Yeah.
practices? What are the daily things we can do? And so I'm curious. And I know how sometimes it can be a little energetically draining if you are posting things and doing this all the time. But if you create the right balance with it, it
Mhm.
like can all live in like perfect
Mhm.
harmony. But what do you guys do for yourselves to maintain your own awareness and physical well-being? And what are kind of your go-to things that you do? Because I think that that's something that's interesting sometimes when we create spaces like this. And
Mhm.
like I was saying earlier, I've been in fitness and wellness and coaching for a long time, but I was in a place where I wasn't being very nice to myself. So it was
Yeah.
like I was
Mhm.
kind of being a little hypocritical there
Mhm.
because I could do it for other people, but who's the person I need to be doing it for the
Sure.
most? So as I realized that and I realized the power behind that shift, you level up to a different level of authenticity
Yeah.
and it becomes like true and genuine. And for me, that was a huge shift. So I'm intrigued as to what you guys kind of do for yourselves as far as
Mhm.
this goes.
Yeah, for all of us, that's a big shift. I mean,
Mhm.
we all get stuck there. I always say you got to attend your own workshop. So if you're facilitating the
Yeah.
workshop, you also have to be
Hmm.
engaged and participated. And if you do so, you're getting just as much out of it as you're putting into it. So it is a generative energy,
Hmm.
let's say. So, and that's what we all enjoy. Dr. Sienna joins us in this process um, because she's bringing a completely different background and lens into the equation, and there's just a beautiful coherence between us all. So the way that that kind of unfolds, I think, is going to be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
For myself personally, it's not about what I do; it's about what I don't do.
Hmm. Love
first,
that.
first of all, because I'm just my nature is I like to explore.
Hmm.
So I will try a lot of different things and just tune into my body and see how I respond. And then my protocols come from that place. So I'll
Hmm.
try everything once kind of thing
Yep.
and just really tune into like understanding the mechanisms of action, the science behind it. So I think for me, the key is really understanding that the way my body harmonizes with life,
Hmm.
nature,
Hmm.
working with my biology instead of against it.
Hmm.
So you get back to those basics that we've already kind of mentioned, light, waking
Hmm.
up in the morning, getting direct sunlight into my eyes. That's a foundational part of my routine every morning.
Hmm.
I love silence, right? So whether you want to call it a meditation, I've taught meditation for many years. Um, for me, it's more about connecting to that unknown, getting beyond all the noise,
Hmm.
right? So that's always part of my daily routine. And then water, very intentional and conscious about the water we're drinking.
Hmm.
That's a whole other
I was gonna
conversation.
say
We
it's a
can take
scary
a
world
deep
out there
dive
with
into
water.
that.
We could
That's
we could
that's
go
a
in a
whole
couple hours.
podcast in and of itself, at least. But we try to be very intentional, clear water, structured water, water that's going to support the biology again, right?
Hmm.
And just paying attention to circadian rhythms.
Right.
I am in the hyperbaric chamber all the time. I do neurofeedback on myself. When I'm at this point, I've had so many sessions that I know when my system's
Right. You
requiring it
can
and how
feel
that
it.
would help balance or regulate me. Um, I'm using RRT, which is rapid release technique for fascia connective tissue.
Hmm.
I need to get into the flow pressa more. That's one thing
I
I need
loved
Yes.
that. That
because
was
that's
amazing.
it's such a parasympathetic. It gets things moving. It's phenomenal. Um, what else? One of my favorite therapies at the AwareHouse is called IHHT.
Hmm.
It stands for intermittent hyperoxia hypoxic therapy. So, like the hyperbaric chamber, it focuses on the increase of oxygen, but where the chamber only increases oxygen through hyperoxia, right? So you have
Hmm.
an abundance of oxygen available to your body. This actually increases your capacity or tolerance for low oxygen environments.
Yes, Tori was telling me.
Yes, so you're
Okay.
increasing your CO2 tolerance,
Right.
and CO2 is what actually drives oxygen into the cell.
Okay.
So the higher the CO2 tolerance, the more efficiently you're going to metabolize oxygen. So it's a beautiful combination, and I'll go back and forth. Like if I'm feeling strong and energetic, I'll challenge myself with the IHHT. If I'm feeling I didn't sleep that well or feeling a little drained, fatigued, I'll jump in the chamber. Beautiful combination.
Okay.
But that's become one of my favorite therapies that I'm doing on a pretty regular basis at this time because I see VO2 goes up, and
Mhm.
VO2 is directly correlated, as you know, to
Right.
overall lifespan.
Mhm.
And it's a phenomenal way to just increase detox, support the body in a beautiful way. So those are just a few things that
Right.
come to my mind right in this moment. Um, so again, try a lot of things, and the things that really move the needle and really I
Mhm.
resonate with me, then I create my protocols.
I love it. And keeping an open mind about it. And this is something I've really learned is like what works for me this week may be completely different than
Mm-hmm.
what works
Correct.
next week. And I learned this the hard way with cold
Yeah.
plunging. I cold
Mm-hmm.
plunged at the
Mm-hmm.
wrong time and
Yeah.
I was like, it was like a nervous system shock to this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that wasn't the time of the month. It wasn't the time of the day. It wasn't the time of the
Correct.
week.
Yeah.
And I learned my lesson with that. Doesn't mean I'm never going to cold plunge again, but it means that, like, I honor that it didn't work for me in that moment.
Yeah.
So just throwing out an example there is, like, just honor that it's forever changing, like, it's an
Correct.
evolution of what's going on
Yeah.
internally, externally, if I know I'm throwing a big kid party, I'm not gonna go and, like, do all these other
Yeah.
crazy stimulating things. It's more of, like, rest and relaxation, barefoot in the grass.
Mhm.
Silence is
Yeah.
huge for me. I
Yeah.
very much need my quiet time or the birds chirping and a quiet walk and, all the things. So, what about you, Oz?
Actually, I think that's what separates us, like makes us a little bit different than the other places because we don't let people to go and just, oh, I came to do this.
Mhm.
Um, First we need to sit down, we need to get to know you, and we need
Mhm.
to consciously guide you. See, are you sure that that's the best thing for you? Like, okay,
Right.
you might have heard it from a friend that it worked amazingly well for them, but
Right.
is it
Saw it
really
on
gonna
TikTok.
work for you? So let's,
Right.
Saw it on
Yeah.
TikTok.
yeah,
It's gotta work.
we need to explore everything. I understand, but it needs to be a very conscious process.
Mhm.
At least in our place, that's my intention. That I want it to be a conscious process
Right.
and not a bad thing or not a something,
Mhm.
you know, very fashionable go and do it. Instead, like those things are really supporting our biology, but let's support the biology.
Right.
Okay. Um, uh, in addition to everything Steve said, like we have so many things as he like repeated. For me, I love to just track myself during life. Like, what
Mhm.
is my relationship with life, with the
Mhm.
life force? That means I track my relationships. And I really want to see what's triggering me,
Mhm.
what's happening, what's coming up. And because the more I work with myself, the more I just bring this to a space that I'm not me anymore, right? I come
Mhm.
into a pretty much nothing space. I cannot help anyone. And I'm a
Mhm.
therapist. So I
Right.
just need to create that space for the people who are coming to just work with us. And yes, uh, the technologies that we have, vibroacoustic therapy, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's an amazing tool
Mhm.
because our cells, even people with the busiest mind, when I put them with the PTSD, even like they're having like physical reactions like POTS syndromes that
Mhm.
they have high, like their heartbeats is
Mhm.
not
Right.
just. So I put those people onto vibroacoustic table for like 10 minutes, and you have to see the shift, you have to see the
Mhm.
change. So that's an incredible tool that I love to use on
Mhm.
myself as much as I find time because it calms my biology.
Yeah.
It gives me a space of like, this is how it feels like to be me.
Right.
I love neural therapy.
I am
I
excited to learn more
love
about
it.
and
It's
try
just
that.
one of the
I
most,
like she was explaining it to
yes,
me and I'm like,
and like
"Oh."
it's a gift that like, Dr. Sian is
Mhm.
bringing in to the house all the European biological tools, and it's just it's just incredible. Like I feel like how the body responds to the scar therapy and those IVs, the homeopathic remedies. I think this is my favorite because I
Mhm.
just feel the change in a very dynamic way, and it works. Okay, I work with the human energy field, and
Mhm.
there's so many layers. This kind of therapies is working with all the layers,
Right.
not just with your mind. I mean, mind the less, um, but all the other etheric fields, and the body responds to it in such a dynamic way. I love to watch it with our patients and clients. I love to watch it in myself. So that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm
What
excited
else?
to try that. So update after I try it because I'm super excited to try
Yes.
that. I was
Yeah.
like, ooh.
Well,
Well, and
you
it has to be kind of nice for you too because you get to treat yourself to it. You don't have to like do it.
well, I'll give you a
You
secret.
treat yourself to it.
I'll give you a secret that everybody thinks that we're doing this to help people.
hmm
Yes, but if you look at it from a bigger space,
hmm
I'm doing it for myself
Of
in a very
course.
selfish way
Of
because
course.
I love the way I feel when I am doing it for other people,
Right.
and the resonance of me
hmm
feels very, very like aligned when I'm doing it.
And it is. I mean,
Mhm.
you're combining your life experiences, your passion, your
Yeah.
purpose, your intention, and also knowing firsthand how it makes you feel
Mhm.
more connected to yourself, and then sharing that gift with
Yes.
other people.
Mhm.
And I think when you come at either starting any type of business for that matter in that way,
Mhm.
the abundance, the flow, the whatever you want to call it will gravitate to you in a way that just it really sticks and it fulfills that like life purpose in this lifetime or I just there's such beauty and synergy in that and you really can't go wrong when you have that side of
Mhm.
alignment. It flows. It allows it to flow.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I actually did the flow presso and then I
Uh-huh.
did the ozone sauna, and
Yeah.
I think that's my new favorite back
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
back. And I will say, I had literally just got back from a international trip that week,
Mm.
like the day before. And I had so much to catch up on, so
Mhm.
much back to school, so much life. My mind was just, I was done. I think I fell asleep listening to the affirmations, and it was total stillness. And
Mhm.
for me, I have to work for that. I have to
Okay.
really put myself, but I went in with the intention like, listen, this is your 3 hours or so to spend on yourself. And I was just really proud of myself for honoring that and just
Good.
letting my mind just go. And
Yeah.
I felt so detox and
Mhm.
like truly relaxed because I could as easily have been thinking about, oh, well, Dan's orientation is this
Yeah.
day and this thing. It's like all the other things I had to be doing, which sometimes happens if I go to take my mindful walk. And
Mhm.
I've learned to just leave my phone at home. I try not to
Mhm.
take any technology with me when I'm
Mhm.
walking.
Sure.
Sometimes I have to if my daughter's with my little guy,
Mhm.
But then I end up like, oh, let me send this email. Let me do, and it's like, no, you
Yeah.
set your boundaries and set your intention because it makes all the difference.
Mhm.
Setting that intention for yourself, whether it's a little bit of breath work or going in to treat yourself to a day at a
Mhm.
warehouse.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why you like it so much and it's helping you. I mean, you
hmm
just fall into this
Right.
space very easily um, because the order of what you're trying, like
hmm
just first, flow presso is an incredible tool to just really bring
Yeah.
you back to parasympathetic. And then when your body feels safe, the body is now ready to let go.
hmm
And when you go into the ozone sauna, everything that your cells now are ready
hmm
to, okay, let's dump this.
Right.
So that combination is my favorite.
Yeah.
And this taps into our creativity because these protocols that we're creating based on how you responded.
hmm
So I would add Juvent,
hmm
get you in front of
Which
the
she
red
did.
light
I did
panel.
that
She
first.
did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I did that first. I
Mhm.
forgot about that.
Perfect. So
Yes.
you do IHHT before
hmm
that. So
Okay.
now when you go into this CO2 tolerant state, right,
Okay.
hypoxic state, what happens is the toxins that are in the cell actually get released because of this process. So now you get on the Juvent and the toxins are moved in the interstitial space. So now they're in the bloodstream. Now you're getting in the flow presso, you mobilize everything and sweat it all out in the sauna.
Okay.
There's a whole science and there's so much evidence behind all
Yeah.
of these steps. So you can see wherever the person is at, we can start here, or we can expand to include this and include this and the sequencing. And it's a very creative process and it's also a very intuitive one.
Yeah.
And I think we all really kind of enjoy
Yeah.
that and seeing it
Right.
as well. Like she gets in there and she says, okay, well, let's look at this. So what,
Right.
and that's also super fun because when you see people responding to something and they've been to this doctor and they've tried this and they
hmm
did this protocol, whatever, right? But when you set up that space and have that intention, it can be really, really.
Okay. Well, looks like I need to add some stuff to my next session. Are you listening to
So
the
now you're
story?
there 6 hours instead.
Hey, you know what? I'm down. I will clear my day for it. I love that. And you just had a guest speaker, a workshop that you had last week, week ago,
Last week was
or
us. It was
okay,
just like a fire
Okay.
fireside chat.
I
Like
was
we invited
side-eyeing.
everybody from the community if they have any
Okay.
questions.
Yes, I
We
love
love
that.
to invite people in and just listen to the community, like what
Mhm.
they need and how we can support them. But we invite people from all over,
Mhm.
guest speakers, as much as we can, because I am, as coming from the international
Mhm.
background, I have so many people that I love that I want to come and introduce my people. So we are really prioritizing that. Now it's summer, it's going to be
Mhm.
more often in the winter. Um, and then immersion, we talked about this. Immersion is coming up. What else did we have?
Yeah, I mean, we're educators at our
Right.
heart,
And I
and
love that because that's such
Hmm.
a pivotal part of it is
right,
educating. Like, yes, you can put all of these things out there, but educating people on why and
yeah.
how is huge.
And just as important as the education is what you unlearn in the process as well.
Yes.
Right.
So when people come to the immersion, for example, it's a very unique way that we create the space or the format for, because we'll have these little workshops within the immersion,
Mhm.
right? So people will gather together and we will have a theme. There will be an educational component, but the education is just setting up a deeper conversation about what we could let go and how we could process this mentally or emotionally so that there's more space to choose something different,
Mhm.
right? So it all is very multi-layered. We're looking at how it all connects. And then we can play around with
Right.
different biohacking technologies and have you ever done this before? And
Mhm.
just also, I think we all enjoy just helping people experience, explore, kind of get out of
Mhm.
their little world to try this and try that because it does require courage. And you mentioned that, and there's no change without courage.
Right.
You just have to get out of the familiar,
Mhm.
and you got to get better at being comfortable in the uncomfortable. We'll say it
Right.
that way.
And that actually something just came up for me when you were saying that. When you're doing these different experiences and you're really releasing things on a cellular level, and I'm sure
Mhm.
you guys have run into this, and just curious as to how you address like, say I would have come out of one of those modalities and I'm like, oh my God, I am just I can't. Like if I'm
Hmm.
dysregulated, if I'm
Mhm.
having a moment, if something's coming up and I'm not ready to physically face it or mentally face it, like how and where, like how would you implement that? Like would you just like you coming from your energetic therapy side, you're reel them in
Yeah.
and have a chat? Like how does that kind of process work? Because I would assume it happens.
Of course it happens. Well,
Yes.
let me say this and then you jump
Sure.
in.
Of
First of
course.
all, we have an ace in the hole. Dr. Sienna has almost 20 years experience in emergency medicine.
Oh, perfect.
So we have this like, safety behind us as well,
Right.
right? Because you don't know.
Right.
There's certain risk with everything. That's why it's so important to really tune into the residents
Mhm.
of the person and find out what their needs are, what their
Mhm.
goals are. And we are very experienced in holding space for people regardless of their level of regulation or
Mhm.
dysregulation. We've been in workshops where um, we're running a process and several people are going into that process in real time and to ground them, to be present with them, to
Mhm.
bring them all back. I mean, so 50 people and let's say 5, 10 of them are in process at the same time. So to have those types of experiences and to know that if you're grounded enough, you're the continual invitation for them to come back to the space to be present with
Mhm.
you. So I don't know,
Yeah.
we've had many, many experiences
Well,
with this.
every technology that we're using, they're very, very safe. I need to repeat
Oh, of
that.
course, absolutely,
But
yes.
yeah, it brings up
Yeah.
because yes, as you said, we're working on cellular levels and like all the stuck energy
Mhm.
of emotions, they come out
Mhm.
during the floor presso session, and it's great, and
It's
that's
supposed to.
why we go into those
Right.
devices to able to help us with that process, right? Well, I've been a therapist for 23 years, so that's my background. So
Mhm.
I am there.
Mhm.
If there's something happening,
Right.
like I know what to do. Steve knows
But
we know what
also,
what we're
and this
doing.
really differentiates us because,
Yes.
like, for example, somebody wanted to get in the hyperbaric chamber a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
but there was this fear, right? And claustrophobic,
Mhm.
whatever subconsciously was happening. We never got into the hyperbaric chamber, but we
Mhm.
processed all the fear that the hyperbaric chamber brought up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not very many hyperbaric chamber facilities or whatever
Right,
are going to take the time or even understand how to process through
right.
that experience,
And
right?
that's
Yeah.
why it's so important to have this multi-layered
Yeah.
approach
Mm-hmm.
because it's new technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's, there's a lot going on out there. So it's like, is it legit? Is it not legit? Is
Yeah.
it,
Correct.
there's so much of finding trusted
Right.
and honorable practitioners that are willing to sit down with you to get to know the true you. Because I mean, let's face it, we all walk into somewhere new. You're meeting a representative. I'm not going to sit and
Mhm.
tell you my entire life story and all of my history and once I can't,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
nor is it necessarily appropriate.
Right.
But I want you to know enough about me, my history, my background, my body, my physiology, my mindset to know how to guide me. But
Correct.
again, not everyone knows that that's important. It's just like, okay, I'm here. This sounds cool. And, so the
Yeah.
fact that you take that approach, I'm sure in a way that they don't even know that that's what you're doing, which is
Mm-mm.
amazing because it's the way it should be,
Right.
it's like that genuine
Yeah.
connection and how to reel it in and understand. And, it's funny. My daughter's 15 and she's going into her sophomore year of high
Mm-hmm.
school. And it's been very interesting, having mom and stepdad
Uh-huh.
who have this kind of awareness approach to life and
Mm-hmm.
listening to some of the challenges she faces with just peers and just normal teenage stuff. And like, gosh, I wish I had this level of awareness at her age. I think she's very old soul.
Yeah.
She's a little older
Yes.
than I am. I feel like she raised me half my life until we had our little shift. But it's very interesting though. And it's like, wow, we really do have that in us if we're taught at such a young age.
Mm.
So it's, I just see what you guys are doing and how it's even going to trickle into younger generations. And like, we don't have to be in our 30s and 40s before we go try these modalities and try
Yes.
these things. So, what if, somewhere were to have like, a super athletic teenager that, living, and I feel like it's such a push pull for me as a parent, knowing like, yes, I know how important athletics and how
Mhm.
influential it can be for life. However, I know how influential that coach with the old school mentality can be too. So like finding that balance between like taking
Yeah.
care of our bodies, having the awareness, but also fitting into this society
Well,
as we know it. We
yeah.
are all
Mhm.
having the human experience in the world that we live in. So how can we have this conscious experiments and kind of guide that into the human experience as well, but in a healthy way. So
Mm-hmm.
like do you guys accept or welcome like teenagers, younger children? Is it more adults? Like,
With
is
open
that
arms.
okay? I love
With
it.
open arms because
Yes.
um, that generation needs help. Like it's
Ugh,
very different than our youth,
yeah.
like as you could prove. So there's a lot going on out there. I like do I start with the chemicals, the toxins, or the
EMFs,
the
all
messed
the
up
things.
Mhm.
dopamine axis with
Oh.
all the like technologies and screens that you're using? It's very different world. I'm
Mhm.
not saying it to judge it because it is what it
But
is.
it's terrifying.
I know. I know.
Like, and it's heartbreaking.
I know.
It really is.
Yes. Well, there has to be something for them
Right.
because this is
Mhm.
this is what it is, right?
Okay.
So they need help and
Mhm.
they need support. And sometimes, well, it's just like it's the age of anxious youth,
Mhm.
anxious teenagers,
Well, because
right?
it's that, like you said, the
It's
constant. It's
yeah,
the
and
brain. Their brain chemistry is very different than ours was
yes,
at that
and it's
age.
Yeah.
considered normal. I
It's
mean, those
so
young
not.
people try to live life with that,
Mhm.
but that's not normal.
Mhm.
So my personal aim is just to have them the experience of what like non-anxiety or
Mhm.
with like a state of being that
Mhm.
there's no anxiety and the body can calm down and they
Mhm.
don't have a reference.
Mhm.
Okay, so I love to just welcome them to just like have them explore the ways that they can drop into that so
Mhm.
they can experience it and they understand, okay, I need to prioritize that. You can still flow with life. Those things are not going to change.
Mhm.
We can change the environment, but um, they can create an awareness about like when it's too much,
Right.
when it's they can't tolerate it anymore, because then it goes to something else.
Right.
So they can come and take accountability and just do the work.
Right.
I mean, I would love in an ideal world that could be implemented in schools and, you know,
It's like a
every,
dream.
yeah, right. And
And we
yeah,
may get there, and I hope we do,
who
and I think
knows?
some places
Hopefully,
are, like, it's
hopefully.
opening, like I said, I think this generation that are having children right now
Mm-hmm,
are very much more open to getting back to our roots, like, let's
Mm.
go outside and play in the dirt, like, I
mm-hmm,
was so thankful I found a school for my young son who's 5, they start their first couple hours outside, they have composting and meditation and
mm-hmm.
breath work as their
Amazing.
centers, they have
Fantastic.
and I'm like
Yeah.
because I was at a loss, like, I love him, but I'm not the homeschool type. I don't have the capacity for
Mm-hmm,
that.
Right.
So I was like, "Where's a pod I can send him where," but getting back to those just having the old school sensory stuff,
mm-hmm,
like you said that as, the lights and the screens and the constant stimulation and the 3 seconds of this and 3 seconds like, I personally can't deal with it, like, it's actually kind of funny, I started reading fiction novels for the first time
mm-hmm,
ever, I've
Okay.
always been, like, more of a real-time health and wellness type
mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
reader, and it's interesting because I listen to the more of those because I like to listen, but I started actual reading fiction novels, I like kind of like mystery psychological thrillers because it still
Mhm.
has to be some level of, like, suspense in there,
Yeah.
but I've found that, like, I can't listen to that because it feels
Mm.
silly, but I like to read it, but it's an escape. It's like a time away from the screen. I
Mhm.
don't really like to watch TV because it's like, again, it's the screen. I know that I get dysregulated with that. So
Sure.
I would love to even explore this with you guys at some point in time, like doing a little workshop with
Oh,
young, like teenagers or something, giving them some of these tools, like
Yeah.
exposing them to some of these really cool options. Obviously, I don't think they can drive themselves to the hyperbaric all the time, so
Sure.
tailoring it though,
they
because
don't
it's
need,
so
yeah,
important. They don't need it. Just
they
knowing
don't
when to
need
put
it.
their
Yeah,
phone down and walk outside and take a walk if my daughter called me
exactly.
last year and she's like, I'm just taking a walk right now. I need to walk. I'm like, yeah,
Yay.
so like, oh, okay, what's going on? I'm trying
Yeah.
to be casual about it. But she knew she
Yeah.
needed to get out of the house. She needed to take breaths. She needed sunshine. Needed,
Yeah.
walk and
Mhm.
still very much like going to the beach and putting your feet in the sand. It's like, absolutely. You want to go to the beach with your friends, go to the beach with your friends
Yeah.
because it's better than sitting at home on the phone or on the TV or on the computer. And, so just a big proponent and just getting back to nature. And, we're so blessed to live in such a beautiful place for that. And
Yeah.
Sarasota is just so great to have all of these different, outlets for that. It's so funny. I feel like lately it's like, oh, how are you hot? And it's like, well, it is Florida. And it's kind of nice.
And
And
it's
don't you like
summer.
to sweat? Like, I don't know. I like it. Like, am I the only person that likes the heat? But so it's kind of funny in that realm. But, if you had to or had the opportunity to share a few things that you value most, I'm sure it's all of it,
Mhm.
both personally and professionally about your experience thus far and how you kind of see a warehouse moving and transitioning and, flowing, what would that be for each of you?
I still anchored in my intention for integrity
Mhm.
because if this was about making money, we wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
It was never the priority. Um, Integrity's always been the core. So the way that it's grown, how it's grown, it had to be authentic and it had to like still resonate at that core. So the people that work with us, that join the team, they do so because they carry the capacity for that vibration. Uh, so it's not about expanding, it's not about
Right.
taking over the world, it's not about any of those things. It's
Mhm.
about staying true to that authenticity. Um, and as long as we are grounded and rooted, I'm really not that attached to what it actually looks like, as
Mhm.
long as we're still creating the space to support the community, um, and also people coming in from all over the
Mhm.
world. It's fun to interact with them, see what their backgrounds, how that creates different challenges, limitations,
Mhm.
etc. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at in relationship to the Aware House. It's more about just maintaining that integral integrity and authenticity and helping people f- because not everybody gets it,
Right.
right? You get it. You
No,
walk
that's
in there,
okay.
you feel it, you resonate with it, and it's absolutely okay. There's a very specific
Mhm.
intention there. So it's wonderful for us when people do get it, though. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's what makes it all worth it because um, yeah, maybe not for everyone, but everyone could benefit because we're
Mhm.
going to meet people wherever they are. So,
Right. And I love that. I think that that's something so important. And I've said this very often, like, I'm not for everyone, and that's okay.
mhm,
And, but for the people who are in alignment, and I'm a firm believer that, like, what's meant to be for you will always be,
yeah,
Mhm.
regardless
yeah,
of, it will come into your life. It might be like a little sign you see here and there. It might be, something. I'm sure this is, you guys have seen this a lot in your, like, little synchronicities here and there.
sure.
And so people will be led to you for whatever intention or
Mhm.
purpose and whatever's driving them there. And I think that's something very beautiful about having such a great, open, like, well-rounded
Yeah.
space.
I think what I want to add to Steve is like have that vibration
Mm-hmm.
just
Keep the vibes
there.
high.
Always like work on that vibration. That's
Mhm,
what he means by integrity. That
mhm,
because when we resonate with that,
mhm.
people who resonates in the same intention, we're always going to end up somewhere. We're going to
Right,
find each other.
right.
That's the way yeah, I think that's the way how
Mhm,
I want things to just evolve. And in a natural way, it's just resonance. And the most of the work that we're doing is frequency work.
mhm,
And yes, there's supplements, there's so many things that we can offer. But at the end of the day, it's the frequency.
mhm. And
Our
that's how does it
frequencies
make
is,
us feel,
yes.
and
Mhm.
that I think is the biggest thing in how I explain it to people who are like, "What do you mean by frequency? What do you mean by
Mhm,
vibration?" It's like,
Mhm.
okay, we've all entered a room or sat next to someone that we're like, "Ooh," that's frequency,
Mhm.
that's vibration. Or
mhm,
we've all been
Yeah.
somewhere and someone comes in and they're just like bubbly and light the room. And it's like, wow, that's frequency, that's vibration.
Yeah.
We've been somewhere where it doesn't feel good. We've been somewhere where it feels so right.
Yeah.
So I love that that's the space you're creating, and are very intentional about it. And much like the different areas of life that I dabble in, it's like, and sometimes it's okay for seasons to change. I've had to
mhm,
give myself a lot of permission to be like, it felt really good to be this high energy fitness instructor for 20 years. That doesn't serve me like it did
mhm.
at all.
Yeah.
Community outreach. Like it feels so good at one point to just attend all the events, be out there.
Mhm.
That doesn't feel that great anymore. So it's learning to balance your passions and your motivations and see what
Mhm.
feels in
Mhm,
alignment with you in the now.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we talk about anxiety and things, is we're so, sometimes we look back and compare to things before. We're looking ahead to anticipate things ahead. And it's like, if we can just be in our now and learn to be in our now, right in this
Mhm.
moment,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff just kind of falls away, and our frequency and our vibration can align
mhm.
perfectly if we allow ourselves to be in our moments. So,
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that, and I agree with everything that you're saying, is to realize that in the moment, you are enough,
mhm,
and that what is present with you in the moment is also enough.
exactly.
If not, if we're plugged into scarcity, oh, this should be that way, there's not enough of this,
Mhm,
we're already in our minds, we're already in scarcity, we're
mhm,
already in survival. And it was Lasso, he says, the man or the woman that knows when enough is enough will always have enough.
mhm,
But it starts here. You have to know that you're enough.
right.
And in this moment, everything is available, everything is possible.
Oh, that makes I'm like teary and I have chilly bumps. I love that. And I feel like this has just been such a beautiful, intentional conversation. It was great to get to know you guys more on
Yeah,
like this
absolutely.
level
Absolutely.
here.
Likewise.
And I will plug it in, but a warehouse in
Mhm.
Sarasota, beautiful space to visit. You guys are doing such beautiful work. I look forward to having more of your practitioners and modalities and things like that introduced on the podcast in the future, and trying them myself. I think you've become a part of my new routine this season, and I'm so excited.
Fantastic.
So, thank you both so much for being
Absolutely a
here.
But
pleasure. And thank
thank you
you
for
so
inviting
much.
us.
Of
Yeah.
course. Thank you.
Yeah.